Lonely Billionaire's incredible offer, revealed take my fortune for one life-changing child. Sarah Jameson sat in her cluttered living room, the aroma of burnt dinner wafting through the air as she thumbed through a stack of grading papers, her tired eyes flitting from line to line, trying to squeeze every last ounce of energy from her exhausted body. It was just another fall afternoon in Cedar Grove, a bustling Midwestern town, where the laughter of children often echoed with the sound of clanging pots and pans. But for Sarah, those happy noises often drowned beneath the weight of her responsibilities. She was a school teacher, yes, but more importantly, she was a protector and nurturer of 3 children, all seeking a sense of belonging in this chaotic world. As the sunlight filtered through the worn curtains of her home, she thought of the lives she was shaping. Little Tommy, with his constant fight against learning disabilities, represented hope wrapped in vulnerability. Emily, ever the wallflower, hid her scars from foster homes behind a brave smile, while little Jonah, still wrestling with the pain of abandonment, frequently questioned, "Will you love me forever?" At that moment, her heart swelled with pride and worry, but the laughter around her was tinged with whispers of struggle. Sarah had always believed hard work could build brighter tomorrows, but as the bills piled high and her dreams slipped further away, the town began to notice her plight. Every Friday night at the town hall meetings, she took to the stage, her voice trembling yet resolute as she stood for the kids she loved, rallying her community while battling their whispers, "Why can't she just ask for help?" And then, out of nowhere, arrived that letter, a crisp, white envelope that held the promise of something greater. Thomas Wainwright, the town's reclusive billionaire, had sent her an offer that chilled her to the bone: "Help me find family, and I shall donate millions to the child of your choice." It clutched at her heart, urging her to dream of a tide that could lift both her children and her own heart. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue, but joy was quickly overshadowed by tension. As Sarah shared the staggering offer with her friends and colleagues, voices rose and arguments flourished. Some saw it as salvation for her children while others branded it an act of betrayal, questioning if a billionaire's money could ever align with the essence of their community values. As nights grew longer, shadows of her estranged family crept back. Memories flooded her mind: the anger, the hurt, the impossible choices she made to chase a life she deemed worthy for these kids. And just as Sarah was preparing to embrace the future, she faced Thomas, tears streaming down her cheeks, wondering if this money could ever fill the void of love she wished to provide. Could she truly risk her family's fragile bond for the allure of wealth? Standing there, with her heart racing, the air thick with uncertainty, Sarah could feel the ground beneath her shift. Maybe this time, it wasn't just about surviving, maybe it was about redefining what family meant and discovering a deeper truth buried under the layers of pain. And as their shared uncertainties began to unravel, they stood on the brink of an epiphany, realizing that in the quest for connection, they each wore a fragile heart craving to be understood. The following days felt like an unraveling thread, each moment pulling Sarah deeper into a dilemma that gnawed at her soul. After the encounter with Thomas, she spent hours pacing the kitchen late at night, her mind racing with unsettling thoughts. The letter remained open on the table, its words echoed in her heart: "Help me find family, and I shall donate millions to the child of your choice." Could she combine that urgency with the moral weight of her responsibilities? She often found solace in the laughter of her children as they engaged in their little adventures, yet, more than once, she caught herself staring into space, haunted by her worries. What would it mean for them if she forged a path toward a solution that relied on someone else's wealth? The thought of her kids clutching their dreams like fragile glass sent shivers down her spine. One afternoon, while helping Tommy practice his reading, she noticed a spark in his eyes as he stumbled over the words, yet pushed through because he wanted to impress her. "Miss Sarah, if I get glasses, I'll be able to read faster, right?" He joked, and her heart twisted. If only things were that simple. The burden of their circumstances rested heavily on her, yet this child, determined and hopeful, reminded her of the resilience they all shared. She shared the offer with the children that evening, hoping to gauge their reactions. What if someone helped us? What if we could live without worrying about bills? She asked, trying to frame it in a way they'd understand. You mean like a superhero? Emily's eyes widened with excitement, her timid voice letting go of a hint of longing. Yeah, kind of, Sarah replied, smiling softly. But it's different. We have to make a choice. A big choice. Jonah's brow furrowed, his hands fiddling with the edge of his shirt. Will it change us, Miss Sarah? Will we still be us? She paused, searching for words that wouldn't disrupt their innocence. What makes us us is love. That one change. Even as she spoke, doubts took root in her mind. Shadows darted across her thoughts, questioning if they could ever measure love and connection against wealth. That night, lying in bed, Sarah's heart ached with the weight of uncertainty. She yearned to be a beacon of hope, yet one decision could tip the delicate balance the four of them had built. As days passed, the offer lingered, blending into the routines of school, soccer practices, and endless laundry. But one snowy afternoon, an unexpected knock at the door brought both excitement and dread. When she opened it, Thomas stood there, solemn yet hopeful. Sarah, he began, his voice steadied by intention, I want you to understand this isn't just about money. It's about love and family, too. I can feel what you've created, and there's potential here, great potential. Those words stirred both admiration and anxiety within her. The vision he painted tugged at her, urging her to consider possibilities. Yet the line between gratitude and compromise blurred. As they spoke further, a painful truth echoed in her heart. Could she forge an alliance with someone so deeply different? In that moment, Sarah knew it wasn't just about the offer. It was about her truth, their truth, and what they were willing to stand for together. As the snow began to fall outside, covering the world in a soft white blanket, she felt the weight of her choices pressing down harder than ever. Could she truly transform her fears into something extraordinary, a bridge of understanding instead of a wall of doubt? With her children in mind and love guiding her heart, she stared into Thomas's eyes, realizing the answer was about to surface. And as the door creaked shut behind them, she came to a choice, a very real crossroads ahead. Was she ready to step into a realm of uncertainty, in hopes of redefining family once and for all? Heart pounding, Sarah took a deep breath. What lay ahead would shape their fates in ways she had yet to comprehend. The next day felt different. The sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, illuminating the dust dancing in the air, but the brightness couldn't penetrate Sarah's mind. Even as she prepared breakfast, her thoughts tangled within the promise Thomas had made. She had always been careful to keep dreams tangible, grounded in reality. Yet here was an extraordinary chance, one that could offer her children more than she could ever dream of giving them. As she poured cereal into bowls, the sounds of her children's laughter eased some of her worries. Emily and Jonah were in the living room, building a massive fort made of cushions and blankets. Tommy swung his arms in excitement as he declared their fort a castle of dreams. But as she handed them their breakfasts, her heart sank with the realization that these dreams might be overshadowed by choices driven by desperation. Miss Sarah, Jonah's voice cut through her thoughts, what would you do with $1 million? She paused, the question echoing in her mind like a song stuck on repeat. I guess I'd make sure you all had what you wanted, but I'd want to help other people too. Like superheroes? Emily chimed in, her eyes wide with innocent wonder. Exactly like superheroes, Sarah replied, a soft smile on her face despite the turmoil inside, yet as the children laughed and chattered, her own heart felt heavy. The idea of changing their lives through someone else's charity meant dabbling in the unknown. What if it changed them? What if they lost the joy that came from shared struggles, the triumph that filled their small victories? After breakfast, she took a moment to gather her thoughts in the cluttered living room. Steps to the window revealed the white blanket of snow still covering the world outside. She remembered her conversation with Thomas, his earnest eyes looking into hers. Instead of seeing a proposal rooted in wealth, she had felt a glimmer of hope, a chance to foster connection. But could those bonds hold if laced with heavy expectations? Pulling on a warm coat, Sarah stepped outside into the frosty air. She needed to clear her mind. The crunch of snow beneath her boots accompanied her thoughts as she trudged down the path. Each step felt like a countdown ticking away her decision, urging her to act. From a distance, she spotted an older neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, struggling with her groceries. Sarah rushed over, her heart intertwining with the warmth of community. "Here, let me help you with that," she called, lifting the bags from the woman's weary hands. "Oh, bless you, dear," Mrs. Thompson replied, her face beaming with gratitude. As they walked together, exchanging stories, Sarah felt a lightness washing over her, a reminder of what truly connected them all. This was the magic of family and community, woven not by riches but by kindness, shared experiences, and mutual support. Returning home later, she found her children giggling over their castle, unfazed by the outside world. The sight brought a flood of warmth, one that reminded her to cherish what was already there, the love, the joy, the sense of belonging. But with the reality of Thomas's offer looming in her mind, Sarah still felt that familiar tension. What would happen if she said yes? What would her answer mean for her children, for their innocence? That night, while tucking them into bed, she watched the peaceful rise and fall of their breath. Questions bubbled in her heart, like an unseen tide. Could she risk everything for something that could change their lives? Or was it merely a dream built on the fragile thread of hope? As she closed the door, a small voice lingered in her mind. She hadn't yet faced Thomas again. And as certainty and doubt clashed within her, she realized there was still one discussion to be had. Would it lead her to a brighter path, or would it send her deeper into uncertainty? A sense of urgency overtook her, compelling her to find answers. Tomorrow, she resolved, she would confront Thomas once more. But what would she say when the moment finally arrived? Morning arrived with a crispness that felt charged with possibility. Sarah stirred from her sleep, her mind flickering with the remnants of her anxious dreams. She glanced at the clock and knew today wasn't just another day, it was the day she would speak to Thomas. The thought both thrilled and terrified her. While the children slept, she sat at the kitchen table, a cup of coffee cradled in her hands. The aroma wafted through the air, mingling with the aroma of fresh pancakes that she would soon prepare. But all she could think about was that offer, that strange lifeline thrown her way. Could she really say yes? Would it make their lives better or disrupt the delicate balance of their little world? As the kids stumbled into the kitchen, blinking sleep from their eyes, Sarah plastered on a smile, hiding her inner turmoil. "Who's ready for pancakes?" she chirped, and they exploded into giggles, clamoring for toppings and syrup. Their happiness wrapped around her like a warm blanket, but a new anxiety gnawed at her. Today, she must step out of the loving chaos and into the unknown. After breakfast, she prepped the children for school, packing their lunches with care. Each sandwich cut into a perfect heart made her heart swell, and she reminded herself that whether she chose wealth or not, love was the true treasure they had. She hugged them tightly as she sent them off, their backpacks bouncing as they hurried to catch the bus. With her heart racing, Sarah took a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly as she clutched her purse. "What am I doing?" she whispered to herself, stepping out of the house. The cool air hit her face, shaking loose the doubts clinging to her. Today was the day she sought clarity. The office was bustling when she arrived. She paused at the entrance, taking in the sleek lines of the modern building. An employee rushed past her, an armful of files, oblivious to her hesitation. "Sarah." Thomas's voice cut through her reverie. He appeared, a broad smile on his face, confidence radiating from him like sunlight. "I'm so glad to see you. I hope today's the day you tell me what you think." His enthusiasm caught her off guard, and she smiled weakly. "Yes, about that. As they headed into his office, the walls lined with photographs of his travels, Sarah's stomach twisted. She took a seat across from him, the expansive desk between them seeming to amplify the gravity of the moment. "Thomas, I've been thinking about your offer." "Good. That's a start," he said eagerly, leaning forward. "I really believe this could change things for you and your kids." She closed her eyes for a moment, envisioning Emily, Jonah, and Tommy. Their laughter, their dreams, but also their struggles. What if accepting your help changes who they are? Who we are? The words fell from her lips, heavy with fear and concern. Thomas's expression softened. "I know it's a big decision, Sarah. But think of the opportunities. College, stability, enriching experiences. They won't lose themselves, they'll gain more of the world. Isn't the world a heavy burden?" She countered, her voice thick with emotion. "What if they lose that innocence, the joy that comes from small victories?" He smiled gently. "You're worried because you care. That's what makes you a wonderful mother. But I want to empower you, not take that joy away." As she searched his eyes for sincerity, a flicker of doubt tinged her heart. But the truth of their conversation was becoming clearer. Maybe it wasn't about the money. It was about the choices she could make. "Are you ready to think bigger?" he asked, leaning back in his chair with a hint of challenge in his voice. Sarah's heart raced with anxiety and determination, but the weight of the choice still felt unmanageable. How could she look back on this moment knowing she could change everything? "Let me think about it more," she found herself saying, though deep down she felt the rush of inevitable change, for better or worse. As she left, the crisp air hit her cheeks, invigorating her nerves. She needed to speak to Thomas again, but now with a mind that might entertain possibilities. What awaited her on this uncertain journey? With anticipation tightening in her chest, she wondered what her future and choices could look like. Would she embrace the uncertainty, or would she turn back from the brink and stick to the comfort of the known? Tomorrow, she knew, she would need to delve deeper into her fears. The question remained, what would she discover about herself and her family if she dared to dream beyond the horizon? The next morning came with an unsettling calm, the kind that made Sarah feel as if the world was holding its breath. Sunlight filtered through the kitchen window as she busily prepared breakfast, but the warm glow did little to ease the flutter in her stomach. Her mind was still a whirl of thoughts about Thomas's offer, and with each tick of the clock, it felt more pressing. "What's wrong, Mom?" Emily asked, her small voice breaking through Sarah's reverie. The 8-year-old was perched at the table, her legs swinging restlessly. "You've been quiet this morning." Sarah plastered on an encouraging smile. "I'm just thinking about some things." "I'm fine, sweetheart." But Emily wasn't convinced. She cocked her head, blonde curls bouncing slightly as she scrutinized her mother. "Is it about your work? Or something with us?" The tender concern in her daughter's eyes was a mirror to Sarah's inner turmoil. "It's nothing to worry about, love. Just grown-up stuff." After breakfast, she walked the kids to the bus stop. The usual excitement hung in the morning air, but Sarah couldn't shake her own heaviness. She stood, waving as the bus whisked the children away, their shouts of joy fading into the distance. Alone now, her thoughts wrapped around her mind like vines, choking any sense of peace. She returned home and paced through the once familiar rooms. Photos adorned the walls, memories of laughter, holidays, birthdays. Each snapshot told a story, reminding her of the love she had built. But would that love stand firm against riches and opportunity? Outside, a car pulled up that broke her focus. It was Thomas, stepping out in his crisp suit, looking every bit the confident man she remembered. "Hello, Sarah." His voice was warm and inviting, an anchor in her storm. "I thought we could chat a little more about the offer." "Now?" she stammered, caught off guard. "I thought I wasn't ready." "You don't need to be." He grinned, the expression genuine and reassuring. I just want you to see the potential. How hard can it really be to entertain this idea? As they sat in her living room, their conversation flowed easily. She unfolded her worries, the fear of losing what mattered most. I've built this life with my kids. I don't want to destroy that, even for something better. Thomas listened, nodding thoughtfully. I admire that. But think of it as expansion, not destruction. New experiences can enhance their innocence. It's about enrichment, not replacements. She leaned back, considering his words. You make it sound so easy, as if money doesn't come with strings. Not if you don't let it, he replied, meeting her gaze. There was a sincerity in his eyes, a promise of support that made her brain whirl. Do you really believe I could make this work? That I could transform our lives for the better? The tremble in her voice surprised her. Absolutely. Thomas's confidence wrapped around her like a quilt. You have the heart for this, Sarah. Just imagine evenings filled with laughter in a new backyard, fields of possibility stretching before you. What's stopping you? Something inside her stirred as she pictured those moments. Joy. Love. Connection. Was her fear so paralyzing that it overshadowed the potential for happiness? Okay, she whispered. Let's talk specifics. What would this mean for my kids? The words tasted foreign, yet exhilarating. Outside the window, the world continued in vibrant color, full of life waiting to be claimed. As Thomas began outlining ideas, the programs, the schools, the experiences, her heart beat faster. She couldn't deny the allure of a broader world, the chance to step beyond her limitations. Could this truly be the catalyst for a new beginning? The possibilities tangled in her mind, sharper and clearer than before. What if I say yes? She ventured, the question slipping out before she could catch it. His smile widened as if he had been waiting for her to ask. If you say yes, we create a new journey. One that could reshape everything for you and your children. She felt the edges of her world crumbling but rising with hope at the same time. This could be the moment that defines not just her story, but her family's future. But as the thoughts swirled, she realized one thing: the decision loomed in front of her like a bright, shiny object, yet the weight of it was heavier than she'd anticipated. Would she take the leap into uncertainty with the promise of a brighter tomorrow, or would fear shadow her choices? The unanswered questions hung in the air, crackling with energy, mirroring the day she had before her. What awaited her on the path that lay ahead? Would she unravel the truth about herself, or retreat back into the safe, predictable embrace of her old life? Sarah felt her heart race as Thomas's words echoed in her mind. She was standing on the precipice of something monumental, her future hanging delicately in the balance. A new journey, he had said. But new journeys could lead to unknown territories, and the prospect both thrilled and terrified her. What if I say yes? The question had slipped from her lips. Now, it felt like a starter's gun, firing her thoughts into an overwhelming rush. Suddenly, her past and future collided, and she teetered between two worlds. Let us outline your options, he said enthusiastically, plucking his phone from his pocket, fingers flying over the screen. I want you to see the vision. She settled back against the couch, a mix of anticipation and dread swelling in her chest. He showed her colorful brochures, stunning schools, splendid parks, and vibrant community events. Imagine the kids in sports teams, art classes, and science fairs, he said, his voice smooth and passionate. They could thrive in ways you haven't even dreamed of. As he spoke, her fingers involuntarily tapped against her thigh. The images he painted filled her mind with vibrant colors and life, pulling her away from her worn-out routines. For the first time in years, she envisioned a life where laughter echoed through a bigger home, where adventures waited just beyond her front door. But then doubt crept in. What about stability? She asked quietly. Will the kids be okay? I mean, this sounds like a big leap. What if it doesn't work out? Thomas's demeanor shifted to one of understanding. Change is always daunting, Sarah. But think of it as planting a seed. Sure, it needs care and sunlight, but it also blossoms into something beautiful. She could almost taste his optimism, but somewhere deep inside, her fears snarled and hissed, warning her of the peril in taking risks. Could they handle the storm if it raged? And what about you? She asked. What's your angle in all of this? He paused, his gaze steady. I believe in your potential. It's not just about the money, it's about creating impact. Helping families grow, making communities flourish. You've got a gift for connecting with people, and I want to see that flourish too. Sarah felt the weight of his words. That his belief in her could lighten her burdens lent her a sense of courage. But to say yes, I'd have to let go of my old life. It's comfortable, and it's where I've built my family. His smile softened. But what if comfort is holding you back? Sometimes we cling to what we know out of fear of the unknown. What if the unknown is where your life truly begins? He held her gaze, and she realized how these moments of vulnerability were stripping away her defenses. Outside, a light rain began to fall, tapping softly against the window pane. It mirrored the conflict within her, a gentle wash that made everything feel fresh, yet full of uncertainty. Okay, she breathed, the word a tentative commitment. Let us explore this more. I need to understand everything. What the next steps look like. How I could make this work. Thomas beamed at her optimism, but she saw something else in his eyes: determination. What if I fail? The question escaped her, almost as a whisper. You won't know until you try, he said firmly. Failure is just a part of growth. The silence stretched between them, it felt heavy, yet infused with possibility. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest. She was standing on an emotional tightrope, balancing precariously between her old world and a potential new one. Not just for her sake, but for Emily and Zach too. What would they think if she turned down the chance of a lifetime? She closed her eyes for a moment, imagining smiling faces, laughter filling new hallways, and children discovering hidden talents. Would this leap change everything for them in ways she couldn't yet comprehend? The thought brought tears to her eyes. Let us take it step by step, she finally said, and in that moment, she felt like she had embraced the first nerve-wracking winds of change, but as she opened her eyes, uncertainty wrapped around her again, squeezing tightly. Would she find the courage to transform her family's future, or would fear snuff out this flickering flame of hope? The next chapter of this adventure was waiting to unfold, and with it came the promise of discoveries, challenges, and perhaps joy, not just for her, but for her children too. But deep within, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. What if the journey she was about to embark on challenged everything she thought she knew about herself? As the rain pattered against the window, Sarah felt the weight of Thomas's belief in her weighing heavily on her shoulders. It was a strange sensation to feel both terrified and exhilarated at the same time. She glanced around her living room, the well-worn couch, the artwork Emily had painted, the toys scattered about. All of it whispered memories of her life as it was. Comfort, yes, but what if she was meant for more? Let us talk strategy. Thomas broke the momentary silence, snapping her back. I want to put together a plan that makes this transition as smooth as possible. You know the kids will need time to adjust, and so will you. She nodded, biting her lip. Right. So, how do we start? First, he began, we need to identify what your priorities are. What's non-negotiable for you and the kids? He leaned forward, giving her his full attention, his blue eyes sparkling with encouragement. My kids, she answered instinctively. Their education, their happiness. I want them to feel safe above all else. He smiled, nodding. I understand. We'll ensure that whatever path we take prioritizes those factors. We'll research schools together, survey the neighborhoods, and find a community that aligns with your values. Sarah felt a sense of relief wash over her. With Thomas mapping out the journey, she could focus on the emotional aspects that twisted in her stomach. What if moving doesn't live up to the expectations? She asked, hesitating. What if their new school isn't as great as we think? Then we adapt, he replied, his tone resolute. Life isn't a straight line, Sarah. It's about navigating the bends and turns. But you won't be alone. You have me and others ready to support you. His confidence reassured her but also ignited a flicker of dread. Could she truly lean on someone else? The conversation shifted to logistics: how to sell the house, find new buyers, where to set roots next. As they spoke, a vision began to crystallize in her mind. It wasn't just an image of a new home, it was the potential for transformation, for deeper bonds with her kids, for communal experiences where they could grow together, but wouldn't that mean stepping away from everything familiar? Her heart raced at the thought. What would Emily say if she knew? Zach was already wary of change, often clinging to his comfort zone. Sarah bit her nails, her mind spinning with doubts as she imagined their reactions. Would she be shattering their little world or golden opportunities for new adventures? We'll involve them, Thomas suggested, as though reading her anxious thoughts. Let us start with a family meeting. If we explain our vision, I believe they'll surprise you with their responses. Emphasis on believe, she muttered under her breath, still skeptical, but part of her felt a stirring of hope. Perhaps involving Emily and Zach in the decision-making process would empower them. She could lead them through the uncertainty and fears rather than push them away. As they wrapped up their brainstorming session, Thomas took a deep breath, exhaling like he was preparing for a dive. Sarah, this is a journey we're embarking on together. Let's take this step by step. And remember, with every risk comes the possibility of immense reward and joy. She found herself smiling despite the storm of emotions swirling inside her. Perhaps risk was the beating heart of growth. So, what's our next step? Planning the family meeting, he said with a grin. And I promise, I'll be there every step of the way. Feeling bolstered by his support, she nodded. Let us do it. I'll gather the kids and we can share this together. But as she looked out at the rain-soaked world, she felt that familiar tug of fear. While hope bloomed inside her, the question loomed large: how would they react to the possibility of a new life? She could almost hear the whispers of what if reverberating in her mind. The ground was shifting beneath her feet, and Sarah realized this was just the beginning. What awaited them on the other side of this leap of faith? The next evening, Sarah sat at the kitchen table with Emily and Zach sprawled out beside her. The air was thick with anticipation, and she could feel the pulse of their excitement mixed with anxiety. She had decided to keep it simple, to share their plan without overwhelming them. Thomas had insisted this was crucial, his words echoing in her mind: involving them creates a sense of control. Kids, I wanted to talk to you about something important, she began, her voice steady but soft. Emily looked up from her drawing, brow furrowed with curiosity. Zach, his fingers dancing over the buttons of his video game controller, paused and turned his gaze toward her. What's up, Mom? Zach asked, the screen's glow casting shadows on his face. Sarah took a deep breath. So, you know how we've been talking about the changes in our lives lately? She glanced at each of them. Well, Thomas and I have a plan that might seem big, and I wanted to share it with you before we go any further. Emily set down her crayon, a mixture of intrigue and apprehension lighting her eyes. Is it about moving? She asked. Yes, Sarah said quietly. We might have to sell our house and find a new place to live. Somewhere different, a fresh start. The words hung in the air like an unsaid truth. Zach frowned, glancing back down at his game, as if the familiarity of the digital world could shield him from the unsettling reality Sarah was proposing. Why do we have to move? His voice was low, almost a whisper. Things have changed for us, Sarah replied, her throat tightening. But the goal is to find a place where you both can be happy, where we can all feel safe and build new memories together. Emily's eyes sparked with curiosity. Have you found a new house? Not yet, Sarah admitted, trying to inject a sense of optimism into her tone. But we'll explore options together, and I want you both to help me make decisions. Your voices matter in this. Will we have our own rooms? Zach's question was almost a plea. She smiled, sensing a softening in the tension. Yes, and we'll make sure you have a yard to play in. Maybe even a park nearby. Emily nodded slowly, glancing at Zach, who still looked conflicted. She seemed to grasp the silver lining. Okay, but what about our schools? I don't want to leave my friends. You won't have to leave them behind completely, Sarah replied, heart aching for her daughter. We can stay connected and visit when we can. And wherever we end up, I promise we will find good schools that we can all feel good about. Zach finally set his controller down. What about my club? I like the people there. Sarah felt a pang of guilt. Was she being selfish? But she pushed forward, reminding herself of Thomas's words. I'll make sure we look for programs and activities similar to what you already enjoy. Think of all the new friends you could make too. Silence enveloped the table. The weight of the conversation pressed upon them, each child lost in their thoughts. Sarah saw the battle of emotions on their faces, the struggle of leaving what they knew behind while hoping for a better future. Could we at least see the new place before we move? Emily asked, her voice softening. Sarah's heart swelled. Absolutely. I want you both to be part of this journey. Their eyes met, and she saw a glimmer of hope reflected back at her, a flicker of excitement. Maybe, just maybe, they could make this work together, but unrelated to their conversation, a sharp knock on the door interrupted the moment. Sarah jumped, her heart racing as she exchanged confused glances with her kids. Who could that be? She murmured. The weather outside quieted suddenly, as if holding its breath. She stood slowly, glancing at the kids. Stay here, okay? As she approached the door, her skin prickled with anticipation. What awaited her out there? With a deep breath, she turned the knob, the door swung open and revealed a man in an elegant suit, his expression urgent. Mrs. Williams, I have a proposal that might change everything for your family. Sarah's heart dropped at the unexpected twist. What new curveball could he throw into their already uncertain journey? Sarah stared at the man, trying to gauge the intent behind his piercing gaze and polished exterior. The children watched from the table, their previous excitement now replaced with a shadow of uncertainty. Excuse me? She finally managed to say, her voice wavering slightly. He stepped closer, lowering his voice as if they were part of a secret. I understand your family is going through a transition. I believe I can help you financially. Financially? The word tasted strange on her tongue. It crushed against her fears about the future and the losses they faced. Who are you? David Albright, he replied, extending a hand. I'm a philanthropist. I usually fund large projects, but I'm looking to support a family in need. I believe your family holds potential beyond just finances. Potential? Sarah echoed, her mind racing. This felt surreal, like words from a movie script. Well, yes. It's not just about money, but about a chance to reset, to rebuild your lives in ways you didn't know were possible. His eyes twinkled with purpose. Rebuild? Have you been watching us? No, but I know what it's like to struggle. I grew up with nothing, but the right opportunity turned my life around. I want to give that to someone deserving. The pulse of disbelief thrummed in her chest. What do you want in return? Nothing comes free. David waved his hand dismissively. I only ask that you allow me to mentor you and your children. It's about developing potential, nurturing dreams. Dreams? Zach interjected, finally breaking his silence. What dreams? I just want a new place and my life back. David turned to Zach, kneeling to meet his eye level. You have a bright future ahead of you, Zach. I can help you discover what you truly want, not just in a new house, but in life. Wouldn't you want a chance at that? Emily shifted in her seat, her curiosity piqued. How can you help? What would you do? I can open doors, David replied, straightening up. You could visit schools before you move, get to know the community, and even start projects you are passionate about. Sarah felt the weight of the moment stretching thin. The idea of accepting help from a stranger, however well-intentioned, made her uneasy. But you don't even know us, Sarah said, her voice firm. We're not charity cases. I understand, he responded gently. But sometimes, unexpected connections lead to unimaginable possibilities. I can create opportunities for your family, financial security, better education, and spaces for your kids to thrive. But what does it really cost? Though laced with skepticism, a flicker of hope bloomed within her. Nothing worth having is free. He smiled knowingly. The price will be your commitment to each other and to the journey ahead. You must strive to make the most of it, not allow your past to dictate your future. Silence washed over them like a tide, the weight of his offer heavy in the air. Sarah looked at her children, their eyes reflecting both excitement and fear. What if this was the answer they had hoped for? Can we have some time to think? She finally asked, her heart racing. Of course, David said, his expression softening. I'll return tomorrow. Just consider what a chance like this could mean for all of you. As he stepped away, Sarah felt the room shift. The prospect of this unexpected opportunity hovered like a spark. Later that night, as she tucked Emily and Zach into bed, the weight of his words lingered in the back of her mind. They could become something greater than they had ever imagined. They just needed to make a decision. As she shut their bedroom door, her heart raced. What path were they really prepared to walk? What shadows lingered before them? When the sun rose again, would they grasp the opportunity or let it slip through their fingers? The uncertainty was overwhelming, but perhaps from this mess, they could find clarity. The next morning arrived like a deep breath, crisp and full of potential. Sunlight filtered through the kitchen window, casting a warm glow over the familiar chaos of Sarah's home. She moved like a machine, her hands working automatically as her mind whirled with the weight of the decision at hand. The kids were barely awake, the sounds of their sleepy laughter mingling with the scent of pancakes wafting through the air. As they sat at the table, their bright eyes looking up at her, she felt a twinge of hope and uncertainty. Could this be the moment their lives began to shift? Kids, I have something important to discuss today, she said, drawing in a deep breath. Emily looked up, her eyebrows raised in curiosity, while Zach simply stared into his cereal, lost in thought. Is it about moving? Emily ventured, her voice soft but steady. Yes, it is, Sarah replied, her heart pounding. But there's more. A generous man visited us yesterday, and he wants to help our family, to help us find a new path. What do you mean, help? Zach asked, skepticism creeping into his tone. She hesitated, searching for the right words. He has resources that could make our transition smoother, to build a better future for us, but this means we have to be open to change, and the unknown. Change is scary, Emily whispered, a frown forming on her face. Sarah saw the shadows of fear in their eyes. She remembered feeling that same trepidation when Thomas had made his offer. I know it is, she affirmed gently. But sometimes, what lies ahead can be brighter than what we see now. We have an opportunity to create something beautiful together. What if we can turn the hard parts of our lives into something strong, something we can shape with love? Zach looked up, a flicker of curiosity igniting his gaze. So, we can decide together? Yes, she smiled, grateful for his openness. If we choose to explore this path, we will take every step as a family. After a pause, Emily nodded slowly. I want to see what it could be like, but can we still have our fort? Of course. Laughing, Sarah's heart swelled. We will always have our fort, our laughter, and our love. Those are the things that make us us. It's just a matter of building a new place to do it. With lighter hearts, they discussed possibilities, their voices dancing with excitement. Later that day, Sarah reached out to both Thomas and David, setting up a meeting to explore what this new opportunity could truly mean. As she prepared for their arrival, she envisioned her children thriving in a new community, where laughter filled the air and love wrapped around them like a warm embrace. When Thomas and David arrived, Sarah felt a mix of nervousness and anticipation. Their presence filled the room, and she recognized that she was standing at the crossroads, ready to explore the life-changing possibilities. "Welcome, gentlemen," she greeted, her voice steady. "Today, I want to discuss how we can work together to shape a future for my family." Thomas nodded, enthusiasm brimming in his eyes. "It's about unlocking potential. And I'm thrilled you've opened up to this, Sarah. We'll provide support every step of the way." "Exactly," David chimed in. "This is a partnership, not a transaction. You're not just accepting help, you're gaining allies on this journey." With that, they delved into plans: a community that would nourish her children's hearts and minds. Schools that celebrated their uniqueness, parks that would be a new canvas for their dreams, and programs designed to help them grow, both academically and personally. As the conversation flowed, Sarah felt a sense of liberation washing over her. The vision they painted ignited something deep within her, as hope and possibility danced before her eyes. Days morphed into weeks, each filled with excitement and unwavering support from Thomas and David. The community embraced them like one big family, welcoming her children into their hearts while providing opportunities she had only ever dreamed of. One sunny afternoon, as they moved into their new home, laughter filled the air. Shadows of doubt melted away, leaving behind the warmth of love. The kids raced through the backyard, their joy echoing throughout the neighborhood, while Sarah stood watching with a heart full of gratitude. She couldn't help but marvel at the incredible transformation her life had taken. They had broken through the chains of uncertainty, emerging into a radiant new beginning. Once again, tears stung Sarah's eyes, but this time, they were tears of joy. She had taken a leap of faith, a step toward the unknown, and her family thrived as a result. Standing in their new home, the air thick with laughter and hope, she realized something powerful: love and connection could always conquer fear. As dusk settled over Cedar Grove, Sarah pulled her children into a tight embrace, whispering, "You have made me the happiest mom in the world." The universe held so many possibilities before them, and together, they would face each one. This was life at its fullest, and they were ready for whatever came next. If you felt this transformation, if you resonated with Sarah's journey, you need to subscribe now. Don't miss out on the heartwarming stories waiting just for you. Leave a like right now to fuel the algorithm and help others discover these incredible tales, and please, comment below with your thoughts and feelings about this ending. Share your reactions, and let's keep the conversation alive. Lastly, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. This is your moment to be part of something bigger.